Victor from Hill Hook Photography. I'm in Micah Brakefield's house. Just doing a little interview. He's got his room set up for some privates. So you got some mats in here and decent little space, and it's looking pretty sick. So as I'm sure people know, you're a local pro MMA fighter, and you're super active in the local tournament scene. So I just want to have a chat with you and kind of see where you started and how you do your thing. So I know you started with wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So was that high school or college or?
I started like in elementary school. My brother was on the high school team, and he told me to come out. So when I was at grade 7, I would just walk over to the high school and just wrestle with the grade 8s and 9s.
Nice. And then I'm assuming you jumped right in high school as well, or?
I continued wrestling. Like I won pretty much most of the tournaments my grade 7 year. So then
Nice.
when I was in grade 8, I had to compete in like the grade 10, 11 or 11, 12 tournaments.
Oh,
so I wasn't winning as much then. So
right.
like I was getting beat up a bit my first year in high school, but then I did pretty well through high school, and then ended up wrestling at Douglas College with SFU.
Nice. And then when did you make the transition? Did you transition into jiu-jitsu first or striking?
No, I should have done both of those, but I did my first MMA fight with like no training. I just wrestled, and I had done the Tiger Bomb, the pancreation.
Yeah.
And I fought a guy, Nathan Swayze, who was like about to go pro. He was like 4-1 at the time, an amateur, and they asked me to fight on a card that he was helping put on in Comox, and I had like 4 or 5 opponents pull out, and then his opponent pulled out, and I beat him in the pancreation, but there was like not full punching.
Yeah.
Then they asked me to fight him for the main event, and I did, and I ended up winning. So
No way.
Kind of just jumped in like that.
No way. So just straight in. So it wasn't really a plan to really get into MMA, or was it?
I had always kind of planned on doing it, but
Yeah.
like I don't know, I don't really ever do anything that like smart or like well thought out. So I jumped in.
And then after that, you got into jiu-jitsu and striking.
No, then wrestling season started, and I went back to wrestling, and then I wanted to fight. I had heard about Battlefield, and we had a weekend off before a tournament. And so I contacted the promoter, and they ended up setting me up with Andre Da Silva, and we ended up fighting. And then after that, they asked me to fight Matt Dwyer, who's now in the UFC. Yeah. So I started training right like 3 months before that fight.
No way.
With West Coast.
That's crazy. So it was your third fight.
Yeah.
Before you started.
Well, I had done a little bit of like jiu-jitsu with. I had a friend who had a place called Dungeon Grappling at the time, and we had like kind of fooled around. But I kind of went more to help out with the wrestling and would kind of roll with the jiu-jitsu guys a bit.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy. Totally wouldn't have thought. I totally would have thought. I mean, I know wrestling's a huge base, and you can totally tell when someone has a really strong wrestling base in MMA or even in jiu-jitsu. But I mean, that's.
Well, for me, I also had like my older brother was a national champion, and he liked to beat me up, so he would like pick on me at home.
Yeah. And
when you have like a dominant, bigger wrestler picking on you, you kind of like make up jiu-jitsu yourself. So I just learned like safe positions and staying safe, and it ended up like I still think that was like the most benefit of all the training I had in all my years was just staying safe under Joe when he was trying to beat me up. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So your first, was it like a big, was there a lot of people at the first fight?
Yeah, there was like, it was his hometown, and there was like probably like 1,200 people. It was outside, and it was like, I had like 15, 20 friends there who, they made up for it with a lot of loud cheering and a lot of drinking, but we were definitely the enemy.
The enemy.
Yeah.
How long? How did that fight end? Was it a decision or is it a stoppage?
No, first round we walked out, and he dropped me in like 20 seconds, and then he got on top of me and he was hitting me, and somehow we like struggled back to he went for a choke, and he like had it all the way in with both hooks in, rear naked choke, with me like bellied out, and he had it, and somehow I just stood up on like autopilot, and then we separated. And then he dropped me again, and then I fell, and then he picked me up with a punch. I was on like my hands and knees, and he picked me up to my feet, and then he went and he threw a kick and he slipped.
Yeah.
And I ended up on top and hit him, and the round ended. And then the second round, I took him down, and then he went to get on top, and I just armbarred him.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So pretty much like a comeback too.
Oh yeah, I was.
Like
I didn't remember the
oh
fight
really?
after. That was probably one of my worst.
That's crazy.
Worst knocks.
That's crazy. So how many amateur fights did you have?
I did 8.
You did 8 amateur fights,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you're pro, and you're nine pro fights now. And so who was your first pro fight with?
Stephen Fritchie. I fought him in Battlefield.
Oh, in Battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sick. And then how did that turn out?
That one was probably one of my best fights, like
nice.
Start to finish. I like was in really good shape. I'd been wrestling at SFU, and
mm-hmm.
I just took him down and beat him up for the whole first round, and then second round went the same way, and then I ended up with a mounted triangle and elbows.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's awesome. And you just fought Ash.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, I saw the video, and then like that looked good. Like I wanted it to just like keep going.
Yeah, it was frustrating. It stopped when it did. Cause
yeah.
It was a pretty exciting minute and a half.
Yeah, man. I hope they do it again.
Well, he gets to fight for the title now, so he's moving on.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll the stars will align and it'll happen again.
I think I'm gonna go 170. So maybe
really?
I'll string together a couple wins and
that'd be sick.
And get that fight.
That'd be good, because I mean that was a lot. That looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To watch.
Yeah. It's always fun to be in a fight like that.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? What was it? I mean, your first amateur fight was kind of out in the air, but if there's anybody who's just at the gym and they think they're getting pretty good with their hands and stuff, and they want to make their first amateur fight. There's a couple teammates at my gym who are going to make their first amateur fight. Is there any tips or pointers that you could give them going towards their first amateur fight, having you're into the pros now?
I would definitely just do a lot of competitions. I think the reason I was able to like jump in at a high level and the way I was is just I competed wrestling tournaments every weekend my whole life. I played football and soccer and baseball and like BMX racing. I competed every weekend all the way through college. I competed.
Yeah.
So it was like not as big of a deal to go compete, but a lot of people, they just have a hard time like waking up on the day and just the adrenaline dumps. Definitely way more prevalent in MMA than any other sport.
Yeah, I've seen it in Jiu-jitsu tournaments before, and I'm competing for the first time in Jiu-jitsu in June, and I'm like, I know I'm just gonna like step on the mats, just be like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm so tired, but I know I'm just gonna go in and do it, and but yeah, because the tournaments are, because you're at the local tournaments all the time. I mean, I've seen you at the Tiger Bombs, like you practically ran the kids MMA.
Yeah, with Don
Brakefield. Yeah, which
puts
was
me in charge because I can yell.
Which was great, because I'm like, because I barely knew you at the time, and I was like, what's this local pro doing here? And then he's like talking to all the kids, and I'm like, this is great. And then you were at the Rumble and Robson, you were down there competing, and then you competed the super fight at the Western Canadians.
Yeah.
And then you won that one. Remember that? You were sick as a dog too.
Oh yeah, I was
super
very sick, but I needed that money for the fight the next weekend. So.
Yeah, that was crazy because there was 6 or 8 guys? I think there was.
I think there was 8 of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was crazy because that was like it was round robin.
Yeah, we had to compete against everyone.
Everybody.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I got some of those photos of those standing triangles.
Yeah, at the Ronald and Robson, yeah.
Yeah, and then you tried one at the Western Canadians. Didn't you kick Brandon in the head?
I axe kicked him, yeah.
Axe kicked him in the head?
While it was probably my best competition kick thrown to date. So not recommended for jiu-jitsu.
No. A little taller than you thought he was?
No, I thought he was going to move backwards.
Yeah.
And so I thought he was going to come in. So I throw my leg up like an axe kick, and then when they go to take me down, I end up in the triangle, and they kind of take me down. And I guess he saw me doing it, and he flinched backwards, and my heel just clipped him, and I kind of looked, and then his mouth had blood in it, and I was like, uh-oh, sorry. He's like, did you just kick me?
Yeah, I remember that. Unfortunately, my camera was down at the moment, so I didn't get the picture, but I mean, that was...
Yeah, that was definitely my best competition kick yet, for sure.
That's funny. Between your amateur and your pro fights, how have most of them ended in your favor? Like decision or stoppage or subs?
I had one decision, and I won that. And then the rest have all been finishes. I had a bunch of submissions and one knockout.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sick. What are most of the subs?
Couple trying. I had my first one was an arm bar, and then I had a rear naked choke, and then I started a triangle streak and just kind of triangled everyone. And then I had one arm bar in pro.
Nice.
Darwin Douglas knocked me out, and I woke up arm barring him.
Nice.
So yeah.
Just kind of the.
Yeah, the referee was running in to
resets
stop it, and then he had knocked me down, and he hit my head off the mat, and he went to hit it again, and I grabbed his wrist and belly down armbarred him.
That's awesome.
Worked out well for me. Yeah, no, I didn't remember. The ref pulled me off, and I asked, what did he finish me with? And he's like, you won. I was like, good. And then I didn't remember when they were paying me afterwards. I was like, why are you giving me my win bonus?
Yeah. Right, so when you're in the ring, either competition like jiu-jitsu or MMA, either pro or amateur, do you hear the crowd? Like, do you hear anyone when they're screaming? I know there's a couple people, like when I get to a tournament and I hear them in the crowd, I'm like, oh, I know, Tuna's here. You know what I mean? You just know their voice. You always know Tuna's
he's
there.
Coaching you.
Oh, exactly.
Or
right?
the opponent.
Yeah, exactly, right? But, I mean, do you hear either like when you're coming out or even like when people are, I mean, the best one is like, you're like punch him in the face. Well, not obviously. Like, do you hear any of that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm really calm to the point where I hear just everything. Like,
really?
I'll hear, like, as I'm walking out, I'll hear people and stuff, and I'll see people out there, and like, I'll hear comments in the crowd. Like when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I remember one time I took a guy's back, and he was like 250, 260 pounds, and I was just gonna dump him down, and I hear someone go, he's gonna suplex him, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should, and then the guy he was with goes, he can't suit that guy, he's way too big, and so I suplexed the guy, of course, but no, I had, in my first MMA fight, or my first pro MMA fight, I was really beating the guy up, like I had taken him down, I was in good shape, and was just really hitting him a lot. And at one point, I had him against a cage, and he started wall walking a bit, and I kind of ended up with the good old fashioned, the grape choke.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting him, like real good, like a couple shots, and then there's a guy sitting front row who's there, and he's just, yeah, hit him in the face, hit him! And I was like, I felt like a jerk for a second. I was like, oh, this is really mean.
This is terrible.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's always funny to hear the people in the crowd, hit him. But yeah. Yeah, well, that's the point.
That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Which is, that's funny. All right, so, I mean, fighters don't make a lot of money. You got any sponsors you want to give a good shout out who supported you for a while? Yeah, I've had a couple that have had the whole time. Just I've had Dominant Ground has been a sponsor of mine since the very beginning. Nice. And Reflex on Kingsway, and for supplements, and then Float House Vancouver, which is a sensory deprivation tank place in Gastown, which is awesome, and then Strike Athletics, they helped me, and gotta give a shout out to Value Village for shirts like this, which is, super sick. Yeah, so. Nice and classic. Yeah, always a shout out to VV. Good stuff. And then your home gym is West Coast? I train at West Coast Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for my gi Jiu-Jitsu, and my no gi and my MMA. I'm doing out at Titan MMA in Coquitlam. Sick. Awesome. Well, Micah, awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me out. Yeah. And if you want some privates from a certified pro MMA fighter, hit up Micah on his Facebook page. Yeah. And we'll leave it at that. Awesome. Alrighty. Thanks a lot, man. Kick some ass. Thanks. Cool.